Hi folks, so something a little bit different for today's video. Instead of just sharing one bigger job that we're doing at the moment, I thought I would take you around with me for the day and show you a few of the smaller, and probably some of the bigger jobs that we're working on at the moment. So I've got some seeds to sow today, and we've got lots going on in these polytunnels at the moment, some of which I will be working on later. But first of all, I'm going to go in the polytunnel and do some yoga to get myself warmed up and ready for the day. So this is tunnel 2 where I've just been doing my yoga, and as you can see at the moment we are in the middle of putting a fresh compost layer down on the beds that aren't in use at the moment, and then we're going to put the wood chips that are on the path back on top of the beds, just a thin covering to help keep the moisture in the soil where these tunnels obviously get really hot in the summer. And the other really exciting thing that Dan is in the middle of at the moment is installing a dripline watering system that we're going to be putting in both of our main 2 growing tunnels this year. And there's quite a lot of other work involved in doing this in terms of the feed that comes down from our water tanks, because where we're off grid here, we've had to really think about how we can get enough water pressure to work a system like this, but we think we've got it sussed out. So yeah, he's in the middle of doing that at the moment, but Dan is actually off doing some gardening work today, so he's not with me. Millie and Murph have got Freedom Forest all to ourselves. And yeah, I'm also doing some work in the other tunnel next door, and I'll be going and spreading some compost out in there in a minute. Okay, so my camera stand just broke, which I'll be in trouble for when I have to explain that to Dan, but I have managed to utilise some wood chip and use a piece of wood chip to wedge the camera in place, so we'll see how we go. Hopefully it won't be too wobbly. But yeah, so this is tunnel 1, our first main growing tunnel, and as you can see I've scraped all of the wood chips off this side of the bed and I've put them on the path for now. Dan kindly put all of this fresh compost in here for me yesterday, and now I'm going to go through and just spread a couple of centimetres on top of these beds just to refresh the soil. And this polytunnel was new back to Eden Beds last year, so it doesn't need too much of a refresh, but just enough to keep feeding the soil. So I'm going to have to take some layers of clothes off now because it's warmed up today, and I'll get on with that. So this is just municipal waste compost that we get from a local green waste site, and we are hopefully this year working on creating a lot more of our own compost, which will be a lot more fertile and give a lot more back to the soil once we get on top of that. So that is another one of our projects that we've got on this year. Dan actually built some lovely new compost bays for us just the other week, and I think he filmed that, so he'll probably put a video out about that at some point. And what we're finding here, where I'm actually going to be using more compost today, is we seem to lose about a foot or so of these beds every year, where the material just slips off and kind of becomes the path. So what I'm doing is actually tipping a lot more compost into this kind of channel along here, where right up to the wood chips, so that I can gain back some beds and keep our paths nice and narrow, because we don't need a big space for walking on. And what is actually really nice to see is all the worms and soil life that's in this compost as I'm tipping it out. I think it helps because it's really nice and wet at the moment. They seem to love that. So that is one side of my polytunnel refreshed with a no-dig layer of compost. And this bed here is 54 foot long, and they're approximately a metre wide. And that has taken 14 of our bags of compost. And our compost bags are about 40 litres in size. So really, and that's put probably only about 2 or 3 centimetres onto the top there. And really, even if you were digging your garden beds over, you should be adding at least that much soil or that much compost to them every year anyway. So we've just done it without the digging, which makes it even easier. So it's actually getting really quite hot in the tunnel now, so I'm going to go and grab a drink and maybe take off some more layers. And then I've got another couple of jobs to come back in here and do. Are you my good boy? You being a good boy sat there at the front of the polytunnel? Are you being a good boy? Okay, so we've got roasted vegetables left from last night's dinner. We've got pumpkin, parsnip, potato, homemade chutney, and homemade pumpkin and white bean cutlets. So my lunch is about probably 99% homegrown, just the sugar in the chutney and a little bit of flaxseed in the cutlets that didn't come from Freedom Forest. So yeah, pretty awesome. And this is home saved stinging nettle tea as well. Okay, so sorry about the wonky shot on this one. It's the best I could do with the wood chip. Okay, so every shot is taking me ages to line up, where I'm trying to use a wood chip wedge to hold the camera in place. So if you're a camera company and you're watching this video and you'd like to send us a stand to trial, feel free, feel free. In the meantime, my next job in here is to deal with all of this rocket. So this has been planted up since October in the polytunnel, and we have had heaps of rocket off of it, but it is now starting to flower, to run to seed, and I do not want this to seed in my polytunnel, because that will be a lot of work keeping it out of places where I don't want it. So I'm going to literally go through and take all of the heads off of this now, and then I'll have a sort through and save all the decent leaves. I did start chopping some of it back yesterday, and I gave Dan's mum a big bag of it. Unfortunately, it won't keep very long, but I will hopefully give my mum a big bag of it tomorrow, and I'll eat what I can tonight. But unfortunately, Dan doesn't like rocket, so he won't eat this, which is a real shame, because we've got heaps of it. And in the UK at the moment, there is a salad shortage apparently. So this stuff is quite peppery now where it's bolted, but what I'm doing is just plucking off the nice sort of smaller leaves, and then all of the rest can go into the compost. So some of it has just been touched by the frost that we've had this winter. Our salad, we were hoping it would do a lot better in here, but our winter has been a lot harder than it normally is this year, and so all of this here was green salad bowl, and we lost nearly all of that, but we have still got a few plants and there's heaps of greens going on down there. I'll show you all of that in a minute. So yeah, we've still got enough salad for us, and earlier on in the season, or in late last year, we were selling a few bags and giving a bit more away, but it's got a little bit tighter now. But the plants that have survived are starting to come back to life, so, and starting to regrow, so we are going to be getting a lot more salad again still. And these plants will stay in here until probably the beginning of May, when I'll start planting up this bed with tomatoes again. So there's my box of rocket leaves, which I've just picked off of all the plants, and there is our big pile for the compost. We've got our remaining lettuce plants that made it through the winter starting to come back to life. We've got some leafing celery here, which is actually doing really well. So lots of herbs here. This is chervil and some coriander, and I think there's some parsley coming through there as well. We did have dill all along here as well, but that got taken out by the second frost. Oh, I've actually got some more rocket over here that I need to deal with as well. So that's salad rocket, and then you'll see here, this that's just coming on over this side is wild rocket, and the wild rocket is just getting going at this time of year, but the salad rocket is just finishing, so that's really cool. We've got some other lovely leafy greens down this end, so I've got some baby cows, which I've just been using for salad leaves, and we've got spinach, some more coriander, yeah, lots more spinach down here. And if you're at all worried about the salad shortage that we have in the UK or in Europe at the moment, then over the next few weeks during March is a really good time to start sowing lettuce. And it grows quite quickly, and one small little packet of seeds will grow you so much lettuce. It can be grown obviously in beds outside or under cover like this, or you can grow it in pots or trugs or troughs on windowsills. So it is actually a really, really easy thing to grow for yourself. So I'll come back in here before the end of the day and have a really good harvest, because we are going to be having chips and salad for dinner tonight, which is one of Dan's favourite homegrown dinners. So I'm just going to have a look at how my seeds are coming on in this tunnel now, and see if they need any water. These little propagation domes are actually really good at keeping them quite moist at this time of year because of the condensation from the top. This one needs a little bit more. Yeah, we sowed these on the 18th, 19th of February, and it's the 28th of February today, so about 10 days ago, and we are starting to get some pretty good germination happening. I've got the kohlrabi is probably the one that's ahead of everything else. We've got purple and white kohlrabi in there. Nothing happening with the onions yet. Nothing much on this tray. And then the beetroot, the Boltani beetroot, is just starting to come through. And then my broad beans, which I've done some extras of in the trays to fill in any gaps from outside are just starting to sprout as well. So my last little job out here today is to sow some onion seeds, and I'm going to do them in multi-sown plugs, so I'll have about 4 or 5 onion seeds in each plug. And this tray is probably a little bit bigger than I'd really like to be using, but my narrower trays I know that I'm going to need coming up soon for all my tomatoes and peas that I'm going to be sowing. So this is our seed raise mix, and it's just a mix of sieved municipal waste compost, a little bit of vermiculite and perlite to loosen it and lighten it a bit, and then I've also added a little bit of worm compost this year as well, just to give it a bit of extra fertility and to help some of the young plants along when they've germinated. So I'm not too worried about filling this tray right up, because, like I say, it's a little bit of a bigger tray than I probably should be using for these onions. So onion seed is best sown fresh as well, so I'm not too worried about if I put a few extra seed in, because onion seed is something that really you want to buy or save fresh every year. So I've got a beautiful fresh salad here for tonight's dinner, and I'm going to spend the rest of the day making a chocolate courgette cake for my dad, because it's his 60th birthday tomorrow and that is his favourite cake. And I might also do some roasted pumpkin seeds as well. But I hope you've enjoyed spending some time with me today at Freedom Forest. Let us know in the comments below if you've enjoyed this video, and also please give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. A big thank you to our Patreons as well today, because it's probably going to be our extra Patreon money that I use to buy a new camera stand this month. Thanks for watching, folks, and see you soon. Peace and plants.